Hey guys, welcome to our review of Kishiryu Sentai RyuSoulger, episode 440. As always, I'm your host, Frozen Stratos. Here with me today we have...
Liz.
My dude, welcome back. We got done watching this episode a few days ago, so you guys could comment down below what you thought about it, but no one did, so that's fine. We'll just get into our review. Had a little tickle, and it happened in my mouth. You know what? This episode just was sort of ho-hum. I honestly, there wasn't much that leapt out at me. Sure, we're sort of at least attempting to move into what looks like an end game, especially since we're on episode 40. Like, we took a look at some sort of like CGI disco ball hanging out at the bottom of like the sea or something. And that's supposed to be some sort of heart of like the big bad guy. So obviously, you know, it is indicative of a Sentai endgame where we're like, oh shoot, this guy we never referenced is going to be here, the biggest of the bads. Oh no!
Yeah, and it turns out like he was only unsealed because they pulled out the Ryu caliber. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I guess that was like a giant prank. She was like purposely losing those fights just so they would be pressured enough to go and get that sword, which is like, if you take it in like entirely, yeah, it's not a bad plan. But like, come on.
Yeah, like, it's like we've been saying. RyuSoulger, really good on just episodic fun, not great on overarching plots, and I feel like they really need to just, if they want to have a killer last few episodes, just stick to the funny. And luckily, we didn't have too much of like the actual overarching plot sort of get in the way. It's weird to say that an overarching plot is like a bad thing. I just think, RyuSoulger is not really strong on that. And in order for them to be as entertaining as possible, I feel like they just need to lean in on what they're good at. And what they're good at is giving us some very entertaining character work with the villains, give us some fun conflicts with the characters. And we had some fun. Like, this scene wasn't meant to be funny, but when Blue went out to try to defeat the bad guy, and he got his ass handed to him because everyone else thought, oh no, I thought all my friends were going to die and we weren't going to succeed. Definitely wasn't about him. Definitely wasn't about Melto, but I definitely thought it'd be funnier if it was.
Yeah, just because of him fighting the big bad, I thought that he was going to lose.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. No. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, like, it was fine. I had a fine time. It's just...
Yeah, like, I feel like we watched this episode way too soon after the episode prior, so it just kind of felt like somewhat of a letdown, even though, like, it was... For this type of series, the way that they're kind of like slowly transitioning into the end game, I think I kind of preferred this way of doing it, because like, as you said, it still kind of felt like the plot wasn't really intruding too much on RyuSoulger, even though there were elements of them trying, like, I think like the certain scenes with the one who's like that one villain who has all their hearts hostage, like. With her, like, it kind of gets like a bit too like, oh, I'm here to like remind you guys that we have a plot to do. I'm just like, yeah, we get it. Let's just move on. But honestly, like, I kind of felt like we had too many of these types of these fights where they kind of like battle like their weaknesses, their fears.
Yeah.
And this show in particular, because we've had so many trials and stuff.
God. Don't forget, this is the final trial.
Yeah. And because you brought up the point, I just kind of like want to flesh out my opinion on why I don't think like the overarching plot doesn't work all too much. And I don't want to like rag on like Red too much, but I feel like he's definitely one of my issues with it. It's like when they kind of like do the whole like Red funneling thing, like towards the end game, because you know the Red Ranger does have to have the spotlight. He doesn't work too well with it in comparison to like other Red Rangers. You know, like, and this isn't like something that's a problem with this Red in particular. I think he's a pretty good leader and all that other stuff, but it feels like it hampers like the rest of the team when they have to resort to Red doing it, just because like all the people on this team seem capable enough to do it on their own, and like when Red does it, it kind of feels like he's taken that opportunity from someone else rather than like it just feeling like a deserved thing for like the Red Ranger to do. And I think that's more to do with like I want to see like the rest of the Rangers like kind of step up and you know get that spotlight.
Yeah.
And like for like the week to week episodes, they tend to get that a lot more. I mean, I know for like the major power ups, Red gets them, but that's just like my thoughts. You know, just before we kind of like head into the finale. So,
and I like to an extent I understand. Like, he is always the one to instigate the finishers with the Zord, and it feels like, oh yeah, he's making the conclusive that last push, and no one else does. And that, you know, especially because he's technically supposed to be like the main pilot of that Zord. I mean, yeah. I remember one or two people piloting it with him, but once they all like dogpiled into the one little tiny hexagonal column, it was just him and everyone else just sort of stuffed into his, like, we definitely shouldn't be here. But I don't want to rag on it too much. We still did get I just want to get into my one or two positives. The mirror stuff, I really disliked the idea that we were able to make Minosaurs out of inanimate objects from the beginning, but now I think it's just really funny. And having Booger Boy just stare at it, and it started insulting it was some of the funniest shit. It's weird that, you know, the whole thing of like, oh hey, this is a mirror that will show you your death or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was about. I don't know if it was like a throwaway line that he was just using to scare his minions, or if that's actually what it does. But it just did not factor into the episode at all.
Yeah. Like, what I kind of felt like it was the very beginning is like when you kind of like leave a bunch of kids in like this huge room with like a bunch of like props and shit, you know, like they might like go and get some like weird items like, oh, this is this, and it has like so and so powers, and they're just kind of like having fun with that. And I think that Crayon was kind of like mirroring that in a way. It's like, oh, look at this mirror, it like shows you like, you know, your death and all that stuff. And he's like scaring them. And he's like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. Let me just make this into that. So that's how I felt about it. But like when he's giving it shit later on, I'm just kind of like, okay. I'm totally on board with this now.
Yeah, all right. Alex, I think we rambled on long enough, huh? Don't you think? Cool. Guys, thanks for watching. If you like this episode, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more from us each week. With this episode done, we are officially caught up on all of our regular Toku content. We still really want to do the Grease movie. I know you guys have been asking for it. We still want to do what is it? Lupat versus Q Ranger. And I know a Geo movie, like the Geo movie came out, like the final movie that came out. So that's 3 of them that we're stockpiling. Part of me kind of wants to stockpile it for once RyuSoulger ends, and then we can do Toku Week again, because we haven't done that in a while. So maybe we'll save it for that. But yeah, just know that due to scheduling and stuff, hasn't happened in a bit. We're trying to make it happen, so we'll see what happens. Guys, thanks for watching. Keep it juicy.
Yep. See ya.
We did it. I mean,
did
I
it.
still have to edit, but we recorded everything.
Yeah.
Hey. I've neglected Soto Pop so hard, though. I feel so bad.